The tension within Scuderia Ferrari is growing. And this time it's not because of internal feuds or poor results on the track, but because of harsh comments coming from the outside, from George Russell, to be precise. Lewis Hamilton's former teammate made a statement that immediately rocked the Formula One world. What did Russell say? Let's discuss it. When the news of Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was announced at the beginning of the winter, the racing world stopped in its tracks. It was an unexpected move from the man who had spent 12 winning seasons at Mercedes, winning 6 world titles and creating the most dominant racing dynasty since Schumacher. Ferrari, a symbol of tradition, the pride of Italy, the most prestigious but also the most unstable team of the last decade. Hamilton came with hope, not just for himself, but for the millions of tifosi who had waited too long for a new era of glory. That hope was wrapped in bright red, iconic, historic, full of pressure. But 6 races later, a dark shadow now hangs over the championship. After briefly raising hopes with an impressive win in the Shanghai sprint race, Lewis Hamilton's form has plummeted. The flickering optimism has now been extinguished by the bitter reality on the track. 7 Grand Prix series have passed, but the main podium is still just a dream that feels more and more distant. In the championship standings, the 7-time world champion is stuck in 7th place, far behind title contenders such as Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and even his own teammate, Charles Leclerc. But the most painful thing is not just the numbers. In almost every qualifying session this season, Hamilton has had to concede Leclerc's superiority. He was only able to win once, the rest he was left behind. In the race, his focus is no longer on winning, but simply staying in the points. A bitter reality for a driver who dominated the hybrid era. The peak of his disappointment was clearly visible in Miami. There, all of Hamilton's frustration seemed no longer hidden. "This car has potential," Hamilton said in an almost desperate tone, "but something is holding us back. We have lost power since China. Until we find the answer, this is where we are, far from where we need to be." An honest, straightforward, yet worrying statement. Not because Hamilton is blaming the team or the car, but because, for the first time in years, he does not know what is really wrong. More worryingly, Ferrari does not seem to have found the root of the problem either. On the other side of the Ferrari garage, Charles Leclerc's suffering is no less striking. The Monégasque has had to swallow the bitter truth once again after finishing 7th in Miami. He had previously crashed in the sprint race and performed poorly in qualifying, a series of results that further underlined the chaos that has enveloped his season. Leclerc, who has always been known for his calm and diplomatic approach, is beginning to lose his patience. He openly expressed his disappointment with the team's performance. Ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix, which is his home race and always an emotional moment for him, Leclerc actually sounded a surprisingly pessimistic note. "Unfortunately, I am not looking forward to Monaco this year, because I don't think we have a good car to perform there." The statement was a loud alarm from a driver who usually keeps hope alive, even in the midst of adversity. Now that hope seems to be fading. 2 of the best drivers in the world. 2 champion mentalities. But both now trapped in cars that cannot match the strength of top teams like Red Bull and McLaren. Inside the Ferrari garage, the atmosphere is beginning to change from one of ambition to one of tension. The situation escalated after the incident in Miami, where Leclerc and Hamilton actually blocked each other on the track. An internal conflict that should not have happened, especially in a team as big as the Scuderia, with a long history and big ambitions. And this is where George Russell comes in. Not with speed on the track, but with sharp, penetrating words that echoed throughout the paddock. In an exclusive interview prior to the Miami Grand Prix, Russell made a statement that hit like a bolt from the blue. He's not enjoying his time at Ferrari. "I can see that. He's a winner, but he can't win now. He is not the kind of guy who chases money. He lives for results. And when the results don't come, his smile is not real." Russell's comments aren't just a passing comment from a former teammate. They're an emotional analysis from someone who's been at Hamilton's side, who's seen up close how the 7-time world champion deals with victory and defeat. During their 2 seasons together at Mercedes, Russell got to know Hamilton not as an icon, but as a human being. And when he talks about Hamilton's insincere smile at Ferrari, it's not just talk, it's a warning. The statement immediately caused an uproar. On social media, in F1 forums, and even in the team's internal boardrooms, Russell's quote was dissected, analyzed and used as ammunition by pundits. Because his words weren't just opinions, They were like peeling back the layers of a mask that Hamilton had been wearing all along. A mask that radiated optimism but hid fragility. The comments also provided irrefutable evidence that the pressure at Ferrari was no longer a technical problem. It had become a psychological crisis. That Hamilton's smile in front of the camera is no longer a reflection of confidence and burning enthusiasm, but merely a form of increasingly fragile professionalism, eroded week by disappointing results. Russell's comments are just one piece of a larger puzzle that now hangs over Lewis Hamilton's future. Because not long after, another voice came from a figure no less respected, Ralf Schumacher. The former F1 driver and sharp analyst suggested something surprising, that Hamilton could choose to leave Ferrari before the end of his contract. A statement that would have sounded ridiculous 6 months ago. But now, anything feels possible. Hamilton came to Ferrari with a new spirit, as if to begin the final chapter of his career on an epic note, to bring Ferrari back to glory. But the reality he found was far from expectations. An uncompetitive car, internal communication that was not always harmonious, and the psychological pressure of being constantly beaten by his teammate Charles Leclerc. All this made the atmosphere in the team even more difficult. From the busy paddock to the media room full of sharp questions, from the quiet Maranello to the glitz of Miami, rumors began to circulate quickly. Talk of the legend's future grew louder, wondering if this time he would face another major failure in his long career. Especially if Ferrari's performance does not improve until the middle of the season. If bad results continue to pile up and frustration deepens, it is possible that Hamilton, who is known for never wanting to stay in a place that makes him stagnate, will make a surprising decision. Leave Ferrari. Put an end to a story that never really had a chance to start. The next 2 races, Imola and Monaco, are not just ordinary races, but big bets that could determine the direction of the season. At Imola, Ferrari will be competing at home, surrounded by a sea of red fans demanding one thing: victory. The atmosphere will be fiery and the pressure to perform will be on the shoulders of every mechanic and driver. Then comes Monaco, a legendary track that leaves no room for error. There, Charles Leclerc will fight to defend his crown on home soil, while Lewis Hamilton will face a narrow asphalt maze that demands absolute precision and full concentration from the first turn to the last. Failure on these 2 circuits is not just about losing points. It could mean a loss of momentum, a shattered mentality, and a rise in pressure to the most dangerous boiling point. Lewis Hamilton has written history in gold letters. 7 world titles, hundreds of podiums and iconic moments that have etched his name into the book of Formula One legends. But that history is now being tested, line by line, by the harsh realities of the sport. For the first time in his career, Hamilton looks like a stranger in his own race car, isolated, doubtful, losing the spark that once made him untouchable. If George Russell is right, that Hamilton is no longer enjoying his career, then Ferrari is not just facing a performance crisis. They are facing a crisis of spirit. And that is far more dangerous. The question now is this the beginning of the end for a legend, or the first chapter of a final renaissance that will be remembered for all time? Write your thoughts below.